It's like my favorite groove.
That was really intense.
You like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great job.
The goal is to inspire people to be like, let me get up and write just
No,
after the
I
show.
almost left right now to go right. I was like, I don't know. Sorry. Gotta go.
I would have been okay with that because I
Yeah.
know what the aggressive energy inside passionate people, creative passion people. What is the deal with that? Like everyone says, oh, I'm creatively passionate. Yeah, well, you're in the arts.
Are you
Is
saying
that,
are you saying those two words shouldn't be together?
no, I'm saying like no crap.
No.
That's like being a fire person and being like, I like saving lives. Oh, you do?
Well, we hope, right?
Yeah. Oh, that totally separates you from the rest of the fire people. Like, why do you need to tell me something? You should be passionately creative because
You
why are
should
you
be.
in the industry?
Well, some people do it for other reasons, like vanity, ego,
Okay, all right.
right?
But if you're creative, right? You have to be passionate to be creative. Otherwise, you just kind of create.
Yeah, or you're just a fake creative.
Yeah, or you're just some.
You're a phony.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I made a comic book 17 years ago. Oh, what else have you worked on? Well, yeah, I have ideas floating around. Oh, are you in this industry? I'm passionately creative. No, you're not. You can't be. What are you talking about? Don't tell me how I feel. I'm not telling you how you feel. I'm telling you what you're doing.
Thomas,
No. How I feel and what I'm doing is identical. Oh, no, that's cognitive dissonance. Don't tell me you did one thing and haven't worked on anything else, even stuff in your own time. How can you be passionately creative?
you guys, if you didn't know, this is actually a show for Thomas to work out his conversations with people.
Oh my! I can do an hour.
I'm the doctor, which is scary.
Dr. LaRose. I mean, am I wrong? No. But isn't it true though? Like, right? That's how it sounds.
Just listen to me and you'll be okay.
Look, the best way to fix any of your mental problems, just take these pills and drink vodka.
Oof.
Oh, man.
Oof.
So, Erica, speaking of being creatively passionate, all right, have you ever heard of these poisonous June bugs? No, all right.
You guys, I apologize in advance if I just saw it. If this big bug comes over here and I freak out.
Actually, they take you to Narnia. I don't know if you ever been to. Do you know Narnia? Have you ever read a book?
The world.
Yeah, the robe, the something in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's called portal fantasy, by the way.
Okay.
That's the genre of fantasy because you have to go through a portal.
Okay.
That's the inciting incident is the portal.
Is that one of your favorite genres?
No.
You hate it.
I'm just aware of it because I teach writing and I help people write, and they come to me and they go, I don't want to do a portal drama, and I go, but you have a portal that is the inciting incident. You got to get rid of that. No. They need to go through. All right, I understand. What's going on?
Thomas and I did a radio show together in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And so we can just blabber on and on.
Which is the point, really. One time I did have a guest on that show that you and I did, but you weren't there that time. Like you were, out and about.
Yeah.
And, because you have a life. And they came on the show, and, the show is really, it talks mostly about entertainment and the business of entertainment. Right. And I asked the person, how do you, what's the process for you to get to book comedy shows and set up the shows and help other comedians get on those shows? And he goes, I'm not going to tell anyone about that. I don't need the competition. I was like, you're on the wrong show.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, honest.
He was very honest, though he lied to me to get on the show. And then, because I told him what the show was, and he's like, yeah, that sounds great. And then, he goes, no one cares about this stuff. You're boring your audience. They probably already left. And then, I went to commercial break, and I go, you know what the show is about, right, buddy? And he's like, yeah, but it's boring. I was like, all right, great. So then when we came back, I was like, I didn't ask him any questions. I just talked.
And he just sat there?
Well, he had no other choice. Every time he went to talk, I was like, let's go to a break.
And this song is by...
Hey, I have a show coming up. This next song is about...
How can someone want to talk so much if they're so bored?
Well, he was saying the audience was bored because the
Yeah.
subject matter of the show, which is what it's marketed. That's like going to Disney and then getting bored because it's fun and exciting, and you're like, "Well, I didn't expect that.
Right.
I was expecting it to be, what I like, death, and war." I, I didn't know
I'm
we were gonna have a
assuming this
rabbit
gentleman's not going to be on this show.
ever. I'm not even friends with him anymore. I couldn't. He, he was part of the small group of people that said I made up my cancer. That was fake. So I was like, I had to get rid of him. I had to get rid. Making up cancer is really the best joke. It's really the best way to get at somebody. You go, yeah, I'm dying of cancer. In fact, I'm in the operation room. I purposefully had my kidney removed
Yeah.
to really emphasize the lie.
Well, that's like a real narcissistic, sociopathic thing to do on his part.
On his
Well, on anyone who would actually make that up is
it's narcissistic.
yes.
Yeah. I don't think he was being narcissistic. I guess he was assuming I was narcissistic because he said I made it up.
Correct.
But I have the scars to prove, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Technically,
As your doctor, I'm letting you know that it's a good thing you let him go.
Good. Yeah, you got to set your boundaries. And speaking of boundaries,
Oh boy,
the
word of the year.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the? No, all right.
Boundaries.
Do you care that we have 3 present? All right. So everyone knows when you listen to this show, we talk about the writing process, the career journey, and the insight into the business from your perspective. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the writing process and get your thoughts on it and see if it's something you do, or maybe you can give us some insight on what your writing process is, because you are a writer. You have written.
I have, yeah. I actually have,
You've put word to paper, or word to Apple computer. We're not sponsored by Apple, and I don't want to be.
I do. Sorry.
Well, I'm allergic to apples.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah, in real life. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, apples kill me. Apples, strawberries, you name it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, mushrooms. Get really sick from that. You see, I'm sure I've said this in the past, just so you didn't poison me. I'd be like, hey, Erica, I see you breed a lot of treats and never for me.
We only ate pizza together. Oh.
And?
That's it.
That's why Erica had to move to LA. She was like, I can't eat any more pizza. I want to be in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And you have to be a size 1.
No,
I am a 0, but not my size is much bigger. So, but speaking of, I'm going to mention like 8 processes to writing a script specifically, and you tell me what your thoughts are on them and if you use them, and or if you do it a different way.
Okay, right? We're going to go one by one.
Well, I'll list it out and then we could go one by one.
Okay.
All right. So, number 1 is first of all, if you're like, I want to write a script, I have a story idea. The first part of the process is usually to write a log line. The second is to create an outline. The third is to build a treatment. The 4th is to actually write the script. 5th is to edit the script. 6th is to do a table read. 7, edit based on the table read. And 8, of course, is repeat as needed. So with that said, what are your thoughts about writing a log line versus just writing the script? Because most writers, they go, I have an idea, and then they just jump on the script, or they'll work on like a loose outline. And then, right? What do you think about that idea where it's like, well, I have an idea. Let me try to figure out how to say it in 2 lines or 1 line.
I think it's so important. When at what point you figure those 2 lines out, I don't think is as important. Well, I take that back. Whether you have it before you even start writing, or like you write for a couple days and it starts to make more sense. That's what I don't think you should figure out the long line at the very end of the whole process. Yeah. Personally, I could be, someone might find that useful, actually, not me. Yeah. But I recall the first time I really sat down to write a script, I had to get some stuff out before I could really understand my log line. I think I brainstormed my log line quite a bit, but I was able to get more clarity on it once I started to write just a little bit.
Well, yeah, the
Um,
discovery process definitely, because you're working out ideas. You might
mhm.
have even started with an idea, and then as you wrote it, you're like, oh, I think there's something else here, and I like where it's going.
Yeah.
And that happens too. One of the reasons that they always or they usually suggest to start with a log line is because in the industry, you're not writing to make one project. So you're not writing to sell one project. You know, your job as a writer is to constantly be writing in the industry if you're writing scripts, because what if somebody signs you, they want to have a future with you, right? But
Right.
also, what if this script doesn't sell? Well, I need to have 6 or 7 ideas in the background. And if someone goes, do you have any ideas? And if you have those log lines written out and they concisely make sense to your project, now you're not based on, well, I don't have the script ready. You're based on, here's an idea. In fact,
Every bird I see, I think it's a June bug. I'm like, no, it's
some
not. It's
well,
not a giant June bug. It's not a giant June bug.
you can't assume it's not a June bug. You don't know what it identifies as. So my point with the log line is
Sorry, blackbird.
it might be a turtle flying around. My point is with the log line, right? So Walking Dead, the comic book, was created based on a log line that was made up at the moment. So the editor was like, "Do you have anything else?" And they said, "I have this." He's like, "I guess, yeah, I have an idea." And he just started like making it up on the spot. He was just working out the idea. And the editor, "I like it, make it happen." Then he went and he kind of made a comic book that wasn't necessarily based on the conversation they had. It was loosely based on it, but he honed it. But that's the power of a log line. He didn't have a physical comic. He didn't have a treatment. He didn't have an outline. He didn't, have a pitch deck. He didn't have anything. He just had his words, and he was able to, in a sense, loosely express the idea in a log line. And that is why they usually say you should start your ideas with a log line for many reasons. One being, well, now you have an arsenal, right? And two, if you can't make sense of what your story is in 2 lines, how are you going to make sense of it in a page or 2 pages or 20 pages, right?
Right.
But I like what you're saying too, though. That's very important. Sometimes you have to discover your log line. You may not know what it is, your idea, and you let it gestate on the page. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, also, like, everyone processes things differently, and I'm a very like visual person. So if I'm looking at a bunch of things I wrote in words, and it's out of my head and onto the page, helps me. It helps me make things more concise.
Concise is good.
Yeah.
Right? Because like it's not filtered through the many various vortexes of the unknown. It's just like, oh, I'm seeing it laid out. I get it. All right, there's characters. Here's the inciting incident. Here's the ordinary world. Here's the reaction to the inciting incident, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you tend to write your logline before you do any writing at all?
If I'm writing a novel, no. If I'm writing a script, yes. And the reason is because I give myself so I have tasks throughout my week, and one of those blocks might be 30 minutes to an hour of basically just brainstorming ideas. And what I do is I just kind of jot down thoughts and ideas. Like, for example, I might say, I wonder what it would be if a girl from LA and a guy from New York decided to do a podcast episode, right? As an example, right? And I'll just write that down. And I'll just do a page of just quick ideas. And if something comes from it, like I'm like, oh, it'd be really great too. Like, oh, there'd be a moment where she's scared of a June bug, right? Whatever the case, like I might write that, but I won't allow myself to go further, because that's not what I'm trying to do in that moment. I'm just trying to just brainstorm ideas. And then maybe another day I'll go back to that list and I'll try to write log lines based on that. For the reason I basically said earlier, is like I just want to always have ideas cocked and ready in my head,
Right.
where I could just be like, boom. And even though I'm usually working on 5 or 6 ideas that are more solidified and more like I'm honing and organizing and outlining, or even on script, I get paid as a writer for a living. Like that's literally how I make a living. So I which I'm like, the COVID has really turned everything around for me. Everyone is like, I can't write, you write, I do this.
Are you creatively passionate about it?
You know what? No, actually.
Sorry.
I kind of I wake up in a mundane gray world, and no, I
Anyways,
actually I
you've
really
been writing more since COVID, is what you're saying.
well, I've been getting hired more
Okay.
to write, and then I also have always written. I've been writing since I was 17, 18 professionally because I did comic books. And then from there I wrote lyrics, and then one day I was writing lyrics for other people, and then another day, so I was always writing and in poetry or whatever the case is. But now like I actually cut out a lot of the stuff I do, and because I have so much work coming in as a writer. Like right now I have 2 novels, um, and 3 scripts, and then that's not even my own work.
Wow, I had
you
no
know
idea. That's really
yeah.
cool.
So, and the novels though, they're I'm helping someone write their novel. I'm not necessarily writing it for them. I'm like helping them
Mm.
structure it better. And then the other person, I'm mostly doing narrative consulting, making sure it makes sense, and stuff like that. But anyway, moving on to number dos, create an outline. So once you have that log line, I personally like outlining. That's known as an architect, or a pants, not a pantser, pantsers are like gardeners.
Mm-hmm.
I like to organize my outline. I like to figure out exactly what it is, and then like break down those moments and then expand on them, add the subplots, all that stuff. What are your thoughts on creating outline? Are you I shouldn't ask you a yes or no. Let's ask you a more professional question here. When you are working out your story, how do you work out those ideas? And do you do it through an outline, or are you more of a pantser, or just you like to garden your stories?
Well, I think because before a writer, I am an actor. I think that I have a tendency to just kind of jot a lot of my feelings down and not in an organized fashion. Like, just because as an actor, I'll go through the script and I'll just write down the subtext, and it's not necessarily extremely organized. I just keep going back to the beginning and then go through it. And sometimes I'll focus on different parts. So because I don't have a whole lot of writing experience, especially with scripts, I think that the first time I ever did write a script, I approached it in a very not in a very organized fashion. I think I just got a lot out on the page and then went back to structure it.
Yeah, well, that's gardening. That's
Yeah.
basically a pantser. You kind of let the story tell itself. That's what they call it, because you're
Yeah.
writing off the
Okay.
cover. So that's great. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with either function. Every writer's different. Stephen King is a
Yeah.
pantser. But
Yes. Okay.
yeah, he's just someone that writes. And one of the things he does, and I'm not a fan per se of his genre, of like what he writes, but I understand that he's an excellent writer. Like, he's a talented writer. It's just I'm not. It's like New Kids on the Block. The money they made, I can't argue that they obviously were successful, but I'm just not a fan of their music, right? So,
Everyone's got their own taste.
Anyway, let's get back to the right stuff here.
Yeah.
But one of the things he says, he goes, as he's discovering or writing the stories, when he feels it starts getting like boring and mundane, he just goes, let me just cut someone's arm off, and how do I put people into the corner and get them out of the corner? And that's a good way to like create movement in the story,
Mm.
But more importantly, have you ever sat there and you said, maybe I could get something out of an outline? Have you ever tried to outline? Maybe because I was like you when I first started. I just wrote, and then I go back and I write again. And then one day a client wanted me to outline their story before I wrote it, so they could see I knew what I was talking about.
Mm.
And I was like, all right, fine. And I fell in love with outlining.
Really?
Yeah.
So you weren't doing it before that?
Correct. I was just like, here's the story, and then
Yeah.
I'll work on it, and I'll clean it up. I'll keep reading it. And, Quentin Tarantino does that. He outlines first and second act, and then he leaves the descending conflict into the third act free reign. And he because he's like, oh, I discover the characters with my outline to the climax, and then
Mhm.
I kind of see where they choose to go for the end of the film.
Interesting. So you're saying he kind of focuses on the outline through the middle?
Well, the beginning and
In the middle.
the ascending conflict part.
Okay.
And he knows the ending. Like for his example was like in Kill Bill, I know Bill has to die, but how he dies and how I get there is really based on different variables that I might not necessarily have written out.
I like that. I like the idea of outlining up until that point, because you get to know your character so well, and they've gotten to such that crucial point in the story that now it's kind of like there's a bit more freedom, perhaps, like in the fact that you've established them, and I don't know, if and when I decide to write more, I would consider that. I also consider that when I'm reading a script. I you don't want to make a character one note throughout the whole movie because they go through an arc.
Yeah.
And so I think about that. It's just different.
Yeah, no, well, especially breaking down a script, and as a writer, you got to learn how to break a script or even a story down. Is just, are those beats there? Are you hitting the plot points of any story? Are you hitting character growth? Are the characters doing anything? Are things just happening because they need to happen, or are we seeding properly? Did we run into a Deus Ex Machina? How many MacGuffins do you need in a film? In some cases, 7, or whatever it was for the Infinity Stones in the Endgame, because all the stones are considered MacGuffins, right?
I see.
So,
what books are you, or if any, what books do you read that you like about writing?
Well, I can't read. I was born illiterate, and I tried to learn. I got a whole bunch of how to read books, but I couldn't get past the instructions.
What books do you listen to on your phone?
I'll be honest. The only book I've ever read on writing was the Stephen King book, and it starts off, "I'm not a writing teacher. I don't know how I write. All I know is how I write. So I'm gonna just tell you."
That's how it started off.
Yeah.
I thought you were telling me the title of it. I was like, that's a long title.
No. Like the book, he preferences, hey,
yeah,
I write. I'm not a teacher.
Which book is that? Do you recall the name?
Yeah, it's the Stephen King, How to Write.
Yeah, he's totally got it.
It's what is it? Oh, it's just Stephen King. That's funny. The Memoir of the Craft on Writing. And it's just Stephen King on Writing would be the simple version of it. But he doesn't really talk about anything. It's not technical, which is fine. But he does talk about where his themes came from and why he writes about what he writes, and how he experienced his childhood, and what the importance and the significance of small towns are. If you notice, all his stories, or at least a great portion of them, take place in, because obviously the Dark Tower series does not take place in a small town. Over the whatever 7 or 8 books it is, I think it might be more, but again, I don't read all his books, but Carrie, all those books, all the books you can, Cujo, they're all small towns. Where I got my writing education from was being around writers, and being around writers that were advancing. So that, like in music, I made the mistake of hanging out with musicians that thought they knew how to be successful, but they were not only doing what I was doing and less, but they weren't elevating. They just were, if you're there for 3 years, you're a failing business. That's the rule of thumb. If you're not making money after 3 years, your business is failing. And the rule is to cut your losses or to pivot, right? So I started in the music industry. I started hanging out with more successful musicians based on what my definition of success was, and my behavior started changing. So that's how I was with the writer world as well, as I started hanging out with writers that were, as I would define success, and I took their writing lessons to heart. Because if they were like, you want to be a great successful writer, And if the next words out of their mouth was write every day, I knew they were the wrong people for me. Because being a successful writer has nothing to do with being a good writer. There are two different paths. Crappy writers can be successful.
Yes, I think
right?
we've all watched that.
We've all seen many comedies. But the same goes the other way. Amazing writers could just be failures, and it has nothing to do with their skill level. They're amazing writers. And then you have the other thing. Some writers, they write their one book, and that's it, and it's huge, and they're successful, and then they write their second book, and you're just like, okay, I get it. One book, we got it.
One book wonder.
Yeah, you don't have to write anymore, and then and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if they keep writing the same book over and over again. I'm not gonna, Harry Potter, but like, you find your niche. Like, I know how to write about little boys, with sticks. They play with their magic sticks, and they figure out adolescence, which is.
I don't want to read that book or screenplay.
I'm sure you own the entire Harry Potter series. You're that age. Right?
My neighbor is a big fan. He's not here right now. Otherwise, I would just
I'm
scream Harry Potter. Oh my god, it was just a.
Imagine I'm like, there's no way he's a big fan, and then he casually walks by wearing the Harry Potter outfit.
He has a cape.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
He got one for his birthday.
Does he play with his magic stick?
I don't know if he has a stick yet.
Oh, all right. Well, that's fair.
However, I just want to say that I just got scared by a shadow. That's how traumatized I am by this June bug.
I think that's why I don't use the bathroom anymore. Shadows everywhere.
Shadows. Okay, cool. So you were inspired a bit by the Stephen King book, but mostly by the people you surrounded yourself by.
Yeah, my peers. And I was actually never inspired by the Stephen. I just had read the Stephen King book later in my writing career, because someone's like, you need to read writing books. And
you're like, this is boring.
No, I feel it's like playing music.
Yeah.
You don't need to know every single chord and every single scale and to be a great writer. You need to know the fundamentals. And then one thing that made me stand out in the music industry is people were like, you have a very unique voice musically. And the way I did that was I didn't learn songs, and I didn't learn the traditional I only had 2 guitar lessons, and then I just was like, let me hang out with musicians, and let me learn.
Do you play by ear?
It's not that I play by ear. I can read music. I'm really good at reading music because I was in jazz band and stuff like that. But
okay, got it. Yeah.
But I purposefully restricted my learning to practice and like styles of music, but I created my own way of playing, which created thus my own style of writing, and that's why I stood out for me. I wasn't great or sucky. I was me, though. Like, people, the one thing I always heard was you could tell when your song is starting because it has a very specific sound. And you saw me play acoustically, not even heavy.
I did. That was fun.
Yeah, and all the music was different, though. It wasn't like you were listening to the same song 10 times in a row.
It was really great.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, having something unique is what makes you stand out, right? So
yeah, and I believe that's correct with writing too.
No book is going to teach you that, I don't think.
Yeah, like if you read Save the Cat, it's going to tell you got to have a Save the Cat moment so you could have sympathy for the character. And it's like, but
I
what is that? You have the book?
Yeah, I do.
Did you like it? Were you like, this is
I didn't read enough about it. The only books I read were The Art of Dramatic Writing.
Okay.
Which I liked. That was like the creative book. I sat down with 2 books just to get like little inspo when I was taking breaks writing, and also to teach me because I didn't have the peers like you. The books were my peers. The Art of Dramatic Writing, and then the more technical book, the Hollywood Screenwriting.
I don't know. You want me to look it up for you?
Yeah, I can look it up as well. But that was a technical book, and that helped me just like learn what I was doing. I never took a writing class.
A Hollywood Spiral? No, the Hollywood Standard.
Yes, there we go. Thank you. The Hollywood Standard.
Hollywood Standard.
I need to give my eyes a break, people, so I'm just going to do this really quick.
See, let's get a better look. Erica, this is what it looks like to live in LA.
This is my summer pineapple.
Yeah, look at that. Perfect.
Summer's not over, guys. So.
That's right. I just want everyone to know when Erica lived in New York, she was a lot less hipper and more like straightforward. She had like a limp to her walk, you know.
That was boring.
No way, you weren't boring.
No.
You've never been boring to me. And also, by the way, don't you live by the beach? You should have tons of piers. Anyway, okay.
I do. There's one there. There's one there. They're open again. Excellent. One of my homes is by the beach, and well, you can't see it, but there's palm trees over there. And this is like some artwork of who knows when this was made, but this is all Venice Beach artwork behind me on the building.
That's not a backdrop?
No.
Because you're in Hollywood, you're on a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, we could have gone with a lot, but yeah, no, I'm home.
You're home. I'm home on the range with the antelopes. All right. Well, just to kind of fly through. So basically, an outline. After you do the outline, usually you start saying, all right, how do I put this into treatment form? And the reason you do that is because, again, how do you sell? You have to pitch your projects. You don't need a script to pitch your projects. Let me repeat that. You do not need a script to pitch your projects. I've been in rooms many a times, and they have never, ever, 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 ever asked me for a script. And you say, but why, Thomas? And I go, because studios know they're going to rewrite it, or they're going to ask you to rewrite it, or they're going to say, let's work it. But if the treatment does not control the essence or fulfill the essence of the story, they're not interested. And that's why you do a like, again, this is like if you're in the industry and you're trying to have a career, and it's like you need your tools. And your tools should always be, how do I make money? How do I sell? I'm not saying create to sell, because in Writing 101, they say create for yourself and allow your audience to find your voice. But once you're done and you have a thing, you got to be smart about it. And but how many scripts have you written?
At what point do you be smart about it? Sorry, I'll answer that. But like you're saying, be creative. Don't focus on being.
Yeah, like you shouldn't write like, oh, what's popular now?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Because then you can't create a career that's unique to you. Like Stanley Kubrick 127 times. He made that lady that he was not like, well, what's popular right now? Jaws? All right, let me make a movie about sharks.
Right. He did his own thing. He's one of my favorites.
I never heard of him.
For that reason. So,
Oh, because they had a unique voice?
Yeah.
Yeah. But name a successful, amazing, great director who doesn't.
Who doesn't have a unique voice?
Yeah. You can't do it. What? Who?
Can't.
You can't. I mean, you might be able to say Michael Bay, but like
a different bug.
But Michael Bay still has a unique voice, right? Everything blows, right? Because that's how we make fun of his. You got another bug?
No, it's gone.
All right, good. His thing is, we always make the joke. The camera's going to pan around somebody as they stand up and things blow up, right? Yeah. That's like, and also you're going to get hot girls until you realize they're all 13 to 16. You're like, oh my God, why did he do that to me? They shouldn't be dressed like that, and then to justify it in one of the Transformers movies, hypothetically speaking, I'm just assuming he has an adult character in their 20s suggests, well, the Romeo and Juliet law suggests that it's okay that I sleep with this underage girl. Little things like that. Anyway,
no big deal.
No, not predatory in any way. So, but you got Alfred Hitchcock, you got Steven Spielberg, you got James Cameron, you could just keep names, Martin Scorsese. They all have a unique voice. Mm-hmm. Wes Anderson. It's the people that just kind of I just want to have a job directing or writing, and they just kind of pop things out.
and that's a thing.
That's completely reasonable too. Take that job.
Would you take that job?
I would take that job with the expectation that I'm going to utilize it to build relationships to get to the next level. Because for me, and what I teach people, especially when it comes to career, is there's nothing wrong with taking a job that you don't like as long as it's within your industry, so you can make a living within your industry, which is the definition of success, right? And then every year to 3 years, you should be taking new next steps to go to the next level. You should always be working to elevate. However, you should always be working to elevate so you can open doors to help others who were in your position originally get to where you are as you continue to grow. So there is a process to it, in my mind. Not everyone
I
thinks
like
so.
it.
But yeah, so how many scripts have you written?
Right. So I have written, honestly, only one that was finished.
Well, that's the one you filmed, right?
No, that one I created the idea. Then my collaborator went and wrote it. And
no,
then
the one where you're on the rocks.
Oh, that's something else that I wrote. So I'm going to get to those. Okay. I've written one script, and I've created one other, and then those other things the one you're talking about as an example were more poetic. It was just like monologues. So those I wrote. Yeah. So I performed a lot of those on stage and turned that one that you're talking about on the rocks into a short piece, a short film.
Yeah, Rose Alone, a prologue.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that feels like another time.
It's 2017.
Yeah.
That's 3, 4, 5 years ago. Just for the record, everyone, I played the rocks.
That was such a interesting experience. Yeah. So I have about 5 monologues written through the character Rose.
Yeah.
And I still have them, on my laptop and in my folder. But that was a different process than writing the scripts.
Now, why did you call her Rose and not Thomas?
I called her Rose because you weren't answering my calls. And I was like, I can't keep seeing this name Thomas if he's going to ignore me.
Well, that's fair.
It was heartbreaking.
I was just trying to understand why you pasted a beard on your face. And I was like, oh, it was originally supposed to be Thomas. And,
yeah, Rose was basically me.
Yeah, she's an alter ego of you. She's a more exposed nerve, whereas you're protective in some ways, and there's nothing wrong with that because we're supposed to have our masks. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
right.
Because it was so there. Hi. He owns a tattoo shop downstairs.
Oh, nice.
What was I saying? It was so therapeutic for me. And it was one of those moments where now at this point in my life, I probably wouldn't do something like that, but I was so I just didn't care. I don't know. It's so weird. I just, at that point in my life, I didn't care. I had to get it out. I didn't think twice ever. I just did it.
Yeah.
And now I'd be like, okay, is that taking up too much of my time? Is that working towards my goals? Do I want to expose that part of me? I just didn't think about any of that. And a part of me misses that part of myself a little bit.
Yeah, that expressive, that passionately creative person.
Yeah. And part of me is terrified of her.
Well, you can expose yourself, but in a way that people don't know you're exposing yourself because it could just be a character piece. Because when I write, there's always at least a little bit of me in everything I do. Maybe my philosophies or my beliefs, like my religious beliefs or my hopes and dreams. They might be the character traits are never me. You'll never find me in characters, but you'll find my morals and my philosophies and my hopes. And but people don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's totally normal to write what you know.
Well, what does that even mean?
I mean, when you're a genius like yourself and you know everything, it means
well,
nothing.
I'm not going to deny when someone else calls me a genius. I'm obviously not going to call myself a genius, even though I know I am. But the thing is, like, if you decide to write about space, you don't know about space, but you do know what you think about space, and it's okay to write about space, even though imagine.
Okay, so you when you say no was not the word I was looking for when I said it. It's just what people say. You write what you know, but you write what you connect to.
Well, I believe your statement is still accurate. You write what you know, but I think people take it a little further. They're like, well, you don't know the human experience to the tortoise, so I don't understand why you wrote a script about a tortoise and the hare. You've never been a tortoise, but
yeah,
you know what that would look like for you. Like, I think turtles are slow and rabbit, but I think the turtle is consistently slow, whereas the rabbit is erratically, chaotically fast, and therefore that's why the turtle wins, right? So there's a moral there. It doesn't matter anyway. That's neither here nor there. But writing what you know, like if you write about space, like hypothetically speaking, imagine you're having a conversation with someone and they tell you, "Did you know?" What is it? Event Horizon. What's that stupid movie in space? Yeah, Event Horizon is the most accurately portrayed way that people die when they're exposed to space. And then you're like, but no one has ever died in space to visually understand what it looks like. It's hypothesized, and there are hundreds of theories. However, none of them involved a human being exploding or whatever it is that happens in an alien science fiction film. And then they defend their position saying, no, it's true. And you're like, I understand the movie is true because it happened. The movie happened, but it doesn't mean it's the most accurate portrayal, so
correct, especially if it's never actually
happened. Yeah, no one had filmed it, no one has seen it, no one was like, I'm not going back in space, I saw some stuff.
Are people like arguing like this, or
I had a debate with somebody who is never ever wrong, and
Dr. Erica here.
However, I didn't say they were wrong. I just used deductive so I debate with deductive reasoning, and I argue their points so I can prove them right. And if logic doesn't proceed, then they can't be right. Right? So that's how you argue. That's how you debate. You're trying to prove your point, your position, but I didn't have a position other than there's no way, if you have never seen or experienced a thing, can something be the most accurate? And I was like, it potentially is a version of what it could be, but it's impossible to be the most accurate. And that was I was like,
I am not disagreeing with you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't understand. I couldn't understand the dying on the hill aspect. I was like, but how can it be the? And then I started looking up like ways people die, and none of it has to do with what happened in that film.
Well, it just sounds like the most accurate equals just like an opinion.
Well, yeah, I would agree that it had to have been an opinion. It can't not be an opinion because it's what somebody thought it would be. It would look like. But I also feel that it's implausible for it to be the most. It could only at minimum be a version of.
Yes.
Until we have something we can justify it against. Like, we can say this is the excuse my grammar, but I'm using the word most just as a sticking point. But this is the most tallest tree I have ever seen. And you could rate that towards the other trees that they may have seen. You could even say, well, actually, you can't even argue that because you don't know how many trees they've seen. But if they say that's the most tallest tree, you go, oh, great. You can't debate that. It's their experience. But if they say that's the most tallest tree in the world that's ever been depicted on camera, and then you're like, but there are no other trees in the world that exist. They created a tree for the movie. We don't have trees in our world though. Yeah, but we know that trees can grow really tall. And you're like, but we don't know how tall. Like there's no meter to justify the most, right?
You lost me a bit with the trees because there are. What world does trees not exist?
Well, I'll give you an example. In Jack and the Beanstalk, the most tallest tree in the world goes past the clouds and almost into space to a point where it goes into a new dimension.
Okay.
Now, if I'm reading that book and I said that is the most tallest tree in the world, yes, fictitiously it would be accurate.
Correct.
Because we can compare it to trees on Earth.
Yes.
But if there were no trees, that statement wouldn't make any sense. Because we've never seen a tree reach its highest potential. Because there are no trees. That's like, what I'm saying is if we, like, let's say.
Wait, are there no trees in that story?
No, there are.
That tree?
There are.
Okay.
In the space example, we have never seen someone blow up in space.
Okay.
Or die in space.
Yes, we got that.
Yeah, so the word most can't be used in that argument.
Right.
Because there's nothing to compare
a
fictitious example of someone's opinion of what could happen.
Oh, you're saying if there was no tree.
If there were no trees and someone was like, well, that's the most tallest tree in the world. And you're like, the one that goes through the clouds and into a fictitious universe. And
you're like, it's the only tree.
Yeah, and it grew from a bean and it's all magic.
Yeah.
We can't assume that normal trees grow like that because we don't know in that example the potential of the trees.
I mean, it seems like common sense to me, logical.
Oh, yeah, if your brain works. Deductive reasoning.
We've had a few conversations, I believe, surrounding deductive reasoning.
Well, yeah. Because I get very entertainingly passionate about like, you know why? Because
entertainingly
passionate about debate when it comes to people's positions, when they confuse me in the sense that I don't think they're wrong, but I need to understand why they feel they're right so I can change my understanding of it. But if they can't explain it, but they still believe it's accurate, like, for example, I had a debate with somebody who I would consider not intelligent, and they were literally reading something off their laptop for not very long, and they pushed their chair back like, I got something, and they're like, hey, Tom, did you know that Jupiter does not orbit the sun? It orbits a barycenter. And I said, oh, where'd you learn that? And he goes, oh, this article. And I go, did you do any research? Like, you need at least 3 sources of data. And he's like, yeah, right? But, not enough time had passed to do any amount of research. Anyway, so I said, listen, I don't disagree with the theory that Jupiter orbits around a barycenter. However, I do believe that it also still orbits the sun. And an article that he just read became his position, and all others were wrong. And he's like, no, it's a barycenter. And then he's like getting like frustrated. He's like, the barycenter is just outside the sun, and therefore, and he's like,
okay.
And I was like, yes, but it's still.
So this was a new finding.
It was an instant finding that had no data collection or no counter arguments. No, because when you find a new theory, you're supposed to try to disprove the theory. Like, for example, the Big Bang theory came up, and what did Stephen Hawking try to do? He tried to disprove his theory of the Big Bang, right? Because that's what you're supposed to do when you come up with a theory. Anyway, so that's what scientists do. I'm not saying he should be a scientist about it, but he literally just read it, and he's like, no, this is absolution. And I was like, I'm not saying it doesn't orbit around the barycenter. I'm agreeing with that. But physics suggests that it also orbits. And he goes, no, it doesn't. I'm like, are there any planets after Jupiter? Just asking, because if there are, Jupiter orbits around the sun because it's in the center, or it's in a collection of planets that orbit the sun. So therefore, it is in the orbit of the sun. And he goes, no, it's not. And he goes, we're arguing semantics, and we're not having the same conversation. I go, we are not arguing semantics.
My God.
There is no semantic about this. It is in the orbit of the sun. I go, the only way I would even concede to this argument is if Jupiter was the furthest planet outside our galaxy. Like if it was on the furthest cycle, the ring of our galaxy, it just so happened that it's spun around and now there's a barycenter. And now, you know what? It's not in the orbit of the sun technically because it's
in a different
zone.
Location.
Anyway. Sorry.
No, I feel like you had a really passionate conversation about that.
So it's in my book. I put it in my self-help book on how to use deductive reasoning and how not to fall into the pattern of absolution. Like it can't. You and I, we have experienced therapy, and they say that black and white is really unhealthy thinking.
I would agree.
Yeah. So if this information is something I discovered that there's a barycenter, then all other information is incorrect because I can't be wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I'm not worthy. And if I'm not worthy, then, how do I have any value? So therefore I can't be wrong. And since I said this information is accurate, I refuse to believe that it can't be accurate. And that becomes, I think that's narcissistic, right? That's a narcissistic trait. Perhaps, it is the I can't be wrong syndrome. It is a real thing, but.
Well, yeah, they think they're always right.
Fucking bastards. Anyway. Moving on. So
you could also have like a spin-off deductive reasoning show.
It's called Let Me Be Round With You.
Oh.
I have to get those episodes up. I finished them. I just, when my father passed away and my mother passed away in a short time, I told you that I got a little pushback on it. But that show is all about debating and.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. You were on the show.
I know. I just didn't realize it was only about that, I guess.
Well, it's a Let Me Be Round With You is a debating table. It's
sure,
let me be round. Let me be honest with you.
I got it. Yeah.
I like puns. That's why this is called The Right Mindset.
You picked a good name.
See? Thank you. And you helped me with that. You were one of the several people that I asked of my small group of people that I trust mentally. Before the show even gets close to the ending, because we definitely went on a rampage. And this is why I miss doing shows with you, because we can go on.
We can have a part 2 one day.
Yeah, right. Well, I need a season 2, so we'll have you come back.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, I think we got to outlining, logline, and outlining. That's it, right?
Yeah, we got to write a logline, create an outline, build the treatment, write the screenplay. We didn't really get any further. But I do want to ask a couple questions before we finalize, and I think they're important for the audience that's interested in getting into the entertainment industry. Specifically for you, it would be the film and television and theater world. And this goes for writers too. But you don't necessarily have to answer these questions as a writer, just somebody that's in the industry, because this is your insight to the business from your perspective. Okay. No matter how wrong. No. It's the Barry Center. Okay. So what is a misconception you had corrected once you were in the deep fray of the entertainment industry?
Oh.
Bring your water and toilet paper anywhere you go.
I was just going to make a joke, but I stopped myself.
You can make jokes on here. Go ahead. No one's going to judge you but me.
I'm gonna stop myself.
Yeah. Barry Center.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So basically, a misconception for the audience is something that we believe is the truth without evidence. Right. It's just something that we have personally developed in ourselves through the lack of true knowledge. Basically, bits and pieces of information. We said, well, there is a Barry Center. That's a misconception, right? So you had a misconception going into the entertainment industry, but once you were deep in the industry, what misconception that you believed was corrected?
Mm. I don't like. I'm not 100% on this is my best answer,
It's fine.
but I think that no, that's just not one. I was gonna talk about training and how that's like imperative or not imperative, but some people don't have any, and some people have quite a bit, and I don't think there was ever a misconception there. Gosh, Thomas, I don't know.
Well, I'll give you an example, and then you could jump
Yeah,
off of
can
it.
you like maybe?
Yeah.
I'm
So,
just like, because the thing is, I don't feel that there's a right or wrong in this industry. So it's just to have something be right and say that it was wrong or wrong and that it was right just doesn't even work for me. My first thoughts are like, there's no right answers. Everyone's doing their own thing here. It's not like,
well, there's still a misconception though. Like
okay,
you have to remember, if I never was in the industry, I only know what I know, right? Because I'm not in the industry. So I could assume things all the time, and then I could start taking action on that based on only what I know, and therefore I could be doing it wrong. And one of those things, as an example of misconceptions, is I absolutely, without a doubt, need a headshot because that's how you get cast, right? That's a
okay,
misconception. You don't need a headshot ever. It's a tool. You can have one. There's nothing wrong with it. Unfortunately, every time you change your look or you get a sunburn, you have to get a new headshot. And also, who tells you need those? Acting teachers who know photographers, and photographers tell you. And agents, they say, oh, you need this. Well, why do I need it? You're my agent. You're not really supposed to be booking me. You're supposed to be negotiating on my behalf. That's not true. Agents and managers do the same thing. No, managers manage your career, and they're not there to help you get booked either. They're there to help organize your career. They're there to finance your career. They're there to help you meet the right people. They're there to say, don't take that role, take this role. Why? Well, because you told me your brand is X, Y, and Z, and if you take this role, but this role pays $400,000. Yeah, but you're going to be a stripper, and you're going to have to get naked, and you told me you don't want to do nudity. Yeah, but it's $400,000. A manager's job is to rationalize with you why that is not the right move for you, right?
okay.
And an agent negotiates on your behalf and actually gets you into the big rooms, right? So
So you're saying the misconception here is that they can do their job without a headshot. You don't need a headshot.
for an actor, the misconception is I need a headshot. The reality is I don't need a headshot. And why
Okay.
is that true? Have you ever been cast on a project where you didn't have to hand in your headshot? If the answer is yes, then you don't need a headshot.
I mean, I was cast in my first film. I mean, I had modeling photos, right? And he was probably had seen them. But social media wasn't a thing quite then. And yeah, he just cast me because he knew
Because he knew you.
me.
He knew you. Which means, by the way, deductive reasoning.
Yeah.
Ergo, you don't need a headshot.
Yeah.
It is a tool. It can be helpful. It can be used as a tool to get you opportunities for an audition or an opportunity to be seen. But the misconception is that you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And then people go, oh, I can't start meeting people until I have a headshot. And now
Yeah.
they do it wrong. They start destroying their career because they refuse the network. Bands do it. I'm not going to get a website or really tell people about my band until I finish recording an album. Well, you don't need an album. Yeah, no, you need an album. It's your calling card. No, you're the calling card. You're the brand. You're the thing that they're interested in. They don't sign the music. They sign you because the music can't write itself. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? So the misconception is you need an album. And I've been in more record label meetings without music ever recorded than most bands that have albums. That's several.
You would have been a good lawyer.
That was one of my first desired job wants.
Really?
I was like either a lawyer or a psychologist because
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Nah, I want to be an artist because I love
Yeah.
drawing and stuff.
You know, my dad wanted to be a psychologist, but he became a lawyer.
Became well because they're really the same thing.
First, there's a lot of similarities, right?
Yeah, you got to read the room. You got to blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Mhm.
All right, so with my example, can you think of a misconception that you personally had other than the headshot thing? Going into the industry, that once you were there, you're like, oh, it
I
kind of
feel
changed
like
the way
there's
I look at it.
something more profound that is not coming to me right now, but one of them that I'm thinking of could be like you have to get a commercial agent before a theatrical agent.
Okay.
And like you don't.
Yeah.
You don't.
You know,
And you might say that you don't even need an agent.
you don't need an agent. Bill
Mm-hmm.
Murray is proof of that because he doesn't. He had a 1-800 number that anyone could call, pitch their project, and if he likes it, he'd call you back. This is Bill Murray.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So, but an agent again is a tool.
Yeah.
Not that they are a tool as in the slang or the insult, but they're a tool. They're a part of your team.
Yeah.
However, most people fall under the misconception that your agent works for you, but it's actually you work for each other. You're supposed to be working together. You're supposed to be informing your agent of what's going on. You're supposed to be allowing them to be a part of the process. But also, if the agent is just submitting you for work, it's called the numbers game, and they're not acting as an agent, the same as a manager. If a manager is just submitting you for work, they're not acting as your manager. They're just collecting 10 to 15% or whatever it is. However, just for anyone who's listening, agents legally are not allowed to take more than 10%. Why? Good question. Because they literally are an agent of the temp system. So if you've ever gotten a job working from a temp agency, they have the same exact agency license, but they checked the opposite box with under acting models and stuff like that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So is this sound?
I hear it. It's nice. It sounds like someone's
Can
playing
you
their
still hear
balls
me
off.
okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine. You're fine.
I'm watching it happen right now. It's a big piece of wood right there.
Well, it's LA. You know, they're always filming porns out in the open. Is that porn? Hey-oh. I do want
really good. That was you. You are very witty. You are very quick.
I can't help it. Can't help it.
Yeah, I'm you know, when we do part 2, I'm going to think about this misconception thing because now I'm going to be thinking about it all day, by the way.
Good.
Because I know there's some valuable insights there.
Well, I think when we did our show, there was lots of times you were just like, oh, like, I didn't think of it that way. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I had a lot of aha moments on that show.
You're just
and
like,
is that show still out there?
Yeah, you can find it. It's on my website, themakearightlefthear.com.
Could I listen to all of our episodes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You could even go to Bbox, Bbox Radio.
Oh.
And look up Make a Right Left Here.
That might be really fun, actually. Insightful.
Yeah. You'll hear how we got married and then divorced. You know.
Oh. Sorry, I've gotten so much therapy on how to forget about it that I just, yeah.
Which is weird because I'm your therapist. So it makes, imagine that. Imagine you married somebody and they became a therapist. And then you went to go to therapy to handle the divorce, right?
Uh-huh.
And they just randomly just choose a therapist because you have a special insurance. And then you go into the room and then they come into the room and it's your ex.
I mean, yeah, who changed their name or something?
Yeah. Because like it was such a horrible divorce. They were just like, I need to get this out of my life.
That would be an awkward moment.
It would be, see, that would be an idea I would write on my paper.
You should. Once we're done here, you should write that down.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. That's really good.
See, there you go. There you go. I'll cast you as the dude. I'll be the girl. I do want to ask one more question and then we'll wrap it up. What is one thing you'd love to see changed in your industry?
Oh. Wow, these are really good questions.
Thank you.
My goodness gracious. I would love if Actors Access got an application for the phone. Because it's just a website. Can you do that?
That's funny.
I think I would like to see, you talked about agents and managers, and I would like to see I think they've kind of overlapped each other, and everyone's kind of been okay with that. It's like, oh, I have a manager, but he's also just kind of submitting me, and it's become like the norm. And I think that it would be cool for those two things to kind of separate themselves again. I'd also like to get back in the room. I think there's something
for auditions.
Why
don't you just get cast?
Just like you like what you're into the self tapes. Not that I don't know where you're at with your own auditioning, but
well, I don't audition unless my agent sends it to me, and they know that I'm not really interested in being an actor. I'm a writer, producer, but what I mean by just getting cast is how many directors, writers, and producers do you know that you're friends with?
Oh,
and,
sure.
Most actors think I want to work with Martin Scorsese, and they don't realize that next to them is the next Martin Scorsese. They're just not being friendly with them because they're nobodies right now. And you develop your career with the people next to you, not the people that have already done it.
Yeah.
Because you're a nobody. No offense to anybody who's listening, but you're a nobody, and Steven Spielberg doesn't know who you are. So he's not going to cast you like he's going to cast Leonardo DiCaprio, who he's friends with. And there's no way in hell that Leo DiCaprio is auditioning for Steven Spielberg. It's just not happening. Same thing with Seth Rogen and all his friends. But like actors, rarely do I see them building relationships and teams and helping the people who want to be the next writers, directors, and producers. They just want their money. They want their pound of flesh. They want to get cast for them. They want to be the lead. Oh, I have 2 lines. They count their lines. They're pissed off. Oh, I'm in this stupid script. They're nobody directed, right? And that's such a common thing I run into when I'm dealing with people that I consider not successful, because they limit their opportunities because they want Steven Spielberg. They don't want the next Steven Spielberg. Right? So when I tell people stop trying to audition, start trying to make relationships, I'm not saying like don't get auditions. Right? I'm not saying that.
You're saying auditions are like a tool in the toolbox.
They're a tool, but you should really be building relationships with the next Denzel Washington, not Denzel Washington. He's not going to hang out with you.
Yeah.
He doesn't know who you. First of all, you're like what, 28?
Yeah,
right?
25? 28 forever.
25. Denzel Washington's in his 60s, right? Imagine you two hanging out.
Yeah, sounds fun.
But first of all, imagine the photo was taken.
I think I saw him at a sushi spot last year.
All right. Did you sit down with him?
No.
Or was he like, I'm with my family, I'm with my wife?
He was with a guy. It would have been awkward. I think, yeah.
But you can't hang out with Denzel Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I'm going to make that my mission.
Please do and film it. But you know what I'm saying?
Part 2. I'm going to be like, me and Denzel are best buddies.
Like this. The only way I think you could do it is if you're working on a project. But think about it. Imagine
it will be more difficult.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But you can hang out with the next Denzel Washington, and as you guys develop relationships and your careers, there's no way. Oh God, it gives me such a headache when I think about people. There's no way.
Me too. Me too.
I talk about Adam Sandler all the time, right? And his entire circle of friends have been involved in every one of his projects since his career started in one way or another. And his circle has grown over and over throughout the years in a way that has elevated his team. And no one thinks of that. They just think, I want to work with Adam Sandler so I get seen. It's my big break. And it's like, stop that. It's
yeah.
I saw that coming.
I almost want to just take this laptop down there and be like, I feel like you're here with me, so you might as well be right next to me.
Listen, is that a saw? Are they sawing things?
Yeah, they're building. I mean, this is the first time I've seen this just so conveniently happening.
I like it. They're building their story.
Yeah. I feel like I should get paid to listen to that.
You should go down and be like, listen, it's about me, not you. I want money.
I mean, yeah. Back to what we were saying. What were we saying? What was our point?
My point is that there's a different mind. There's the we perspective and the me perspective, and the majority of people in the industry that are not successful focus on the me perspective and not necessarily the we perspective.
No, you're right. You're really correct about that. I have such a good story about that.
Tell me. I don't mind the bees.
I can't tell it to the public, but I can tell you. I just I'm going to be calling someone out.
Well, that's fine. You could do that in private. We could do that in private.
And I just
Do you want me to put it in my book?
Yes. When we get off, I'm going to tell you the story. It's just for the people. It's someone who's started this project and is considering only me and not we. And while in the short term, it's gratifying to this person, long term, it's just destroying possibilities.
Look, they hope that it's good. Their vehicle is going to get them to the next level.
Yeah, and it's we are in a business where we need other people. If I was waking up and just was a day trader, buying and selling penny stocks in my apartment.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do that by myself, right?
Yeah. Well, day trading, yeah. As long as you don't need a broker and you're using a third party app
right. And I could do that by myself. But this industry, I mean, unless you're you need people. Even if you're just doing stand-up comedy and you only have yourself, you need relationships to get on stage.
Well, let's use deductive reasoning. Ready?
I mean,
No, you're right. You're 100% right. And it's
okay.
Here's an
That's
example.
all that matters.
You are right. You're right. You're right-handed. You're right. Let's use deductive reasoning to prove your point. I want to be an actor. It's about me. I need to get seen. I need to get noticed. I have to be the best person in the project. I don't care if anyone else in that film sucks. I'm just going to focus on being better, which would technically ruin the scene because I'm not listening. I'm just trying to be awesome.
Right.
Well, let's think about that. How'd you get in the film? Was anyone did someone pick you?
Someone picked someone.
So right there, you need someone else.
Yep.
So therefore, the isolation mentality is not healthy,
Yeah. I think a lot of that comes also from the competition aspect of this business.
Yeah.
And it's you are the instrument. And so people take that idea to the next level. It's oh, I'm the instrument. This instrument can't compete with my instrument, which is myself. And so it becomes very difficult to establish relationships when people are concerned about those things.
Yeah.
And you could be in a totally different category than someone and they'll still feel that way for some reason. It's interesting.
Well, what's the quote that people say that's I think is really helpful for the competitive mentality is the only person you should be competing with is yourself. Right?
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you're always trying to be better than you were yesterday.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean better than everyone else because
there's only one of you,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope there's only one of me because I don't think the world can handle this beard everywhere.
You look really youthful. Do you age?
No.
You don't.
Do you know what my secret is?
Eating pizza?
I mean, it does help. I made a deal with the devil when I was 18.
Oh.
Oh my God. I got to tell you this quick story about not aging.
Okay.
And you'll like this one. And then we could go. When I was younger, and by younger I mean 32 or 33, which is much younger than I am now, at least by a decade. I was playing a show, right, with a friend. They asked me to play bass for them, and I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll play bass. And it's very rare to get me on stage after I had left the music industry, but they were like someone that I grew up with, and I loved the kid, and I'm playing whatever, and I get off the stage, and one of my girlfriends from when I was like 20 was there, and she looked like she was almost 40. Like she had the I definitely aged look. She was gray. But she's obviously she was younger than me as it was, and I was in my early 30s, and she had to have been in her late 20s, and she just didn't. And she's just staring at me, and I see her looking at me, but she had like that like dead stare, like and her mouth was open.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I guess she doesn't recognize me or something. And I walk over, I go, hey, what's up? And I say her name, and she's just staring at me, and I start like, hello, and she goes, Thomas? And I go, yeah. She goes, you look the same. And I go, what are you talking about? She's like, you haven't aged. She's like, you're in your 30s, right? I go, yeah. I'm still 3 years older than you. She's like, what are you dyeing your hair? At the time, my hair was still very dark.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. She's like, what are you doing? I go, I don't worry about things.
Is that your secret?
Yeah, that's my secret. I write people off. I handle problems. It's just I work through my worries. So that's what I mean. Like I don't really worry about things means I work through my issue. I work through things that bother me.
Yes.
And I do that by either making jokes about it, because the more I make light of something, the more I realize how insignificant it is. And something that actually has helped me maintain my youth, especially after cancer, is I think about and I might create existential dread for you and the listeners in a second, but if you think about how big our sun is, okay, and how small our sun is compared to the next largest sun, and the fact that Earth itself has a size that is tiny in comparison to our sun, therefore almost microscopic to the next largest sun, and that we are invisible specks on the planet of Earth. And the thing most people worry about is, how am I going to make money and pay my bills? And you realize we as humans do not understand existence. And we worry about things that have no value in the comparisons to the unknown universe and the grandioso, massive, vast, unexplored truth that is out there. And yet, I just hope people notice me on camera, or I care about myself more than someone. And I think about that often ever since I had cancer and beat it. And that actually has like maintained kind of like the ability to go, oh, this person betrayed me. I make fun of them. I make fun of the situation. I make fun of the whole, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a joke. It has no value. And to clear that up, my father actually taught me that when I was younger, and it didn't hit me until I was living with him right before he passed this June. He always said to me, and I always took it like, I get it, it's my father. He's just talking because he was in Vietnam. He got blown up in Vietnam, and he used to always say, he goes, if I didn't laugh every day in Vietnam, I would have never gotten out of Vietnam alive.
Wow. Yeah.
Even if I got out alive.
I get it.
Yeah, and then it made sense when I was spending time with him.
That's really, really wise of him to think that way and reflect like that. Just to add my little spiritual note.
Yeah, go for it.
I have, in tough times, maybe didn't know exactly what my thoughts were on it, but have looked into the sky and thought about how small we are in comparison to everything out there. And it's brought me a lot of peace. And it's helped mold my perspective on life quite a bit. Guilty, forget about it sometimes. Like,
know about it.
Huh?
You know about it. It's something that you have thought about. Yeah. It's something you can find. And you have to forgive yourself if you ever fall back and forget about it, because you know about it. And it's all right to trip. It's all right to fall. It's all right to look stupid. It's all right to be stupid. It's all right not to know something. It's all right to be wrong. It's all right. And all these things are true. It's all right not to be the perfect version of what we think we should be, as long as we accept the accountability that we're allowed to learn. Right? And that's really...
That was well said. Is that in your book?
No, but it will be now. I'll write it. The book is done. I have Alpha doing it right now.
Maybe you just, that's on one page at the end or something.
I think I asked you to read it, but I accept. You said you were busy, and I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like you felt like bad about it. I was like, why would I be mad that you can't read?
I guess I got to a place where I'm like, I don't want to say yes to something I know I can't do right now.
Yeah,
and I want to read it. It's nothing to do with that.
Listen, once it's available, I'll be happy for you to buy it.
Yeah. I will certainly buy your book.
It'll be affordable. As someone asked me, how much should they charge for the book? I go, you charge $100, right? Okay, but then you give them a discount for $50, and they feel like they got a deal.
That's just how it goes down.
It's like, oh, I only paid half the price. I got it.
Yeah. So I like that.
But listen, Erica, I had a lovely time. This is the longest episode I've done.
Oh my gosh!
I just want you to know that I really enjoy. Yeah, you won. By the way, is there a website you would like to tell us about? For us that I could delete later. No, go ahead.
You can find me at ericalarose.com. It needs a little updating, but all my social media links are there, which have what I'm up to, and check it out.
ericalarose.com, and it would look like this for those who don't know how to spell words. Erica LaRose. But also there'll be a link in the description below. But obviously, if anyone's listening on the radio, as we are also in the world of Spotify and all those other, it's Erica as in the name, ERICA, LaRose as in the Rose, LAROSE.
Thank you for doing that correctly.
Yeah, that's what I do. LaRose. It is the Rose, right? That's what LaRose means, right? Now, .com, do people ever go, I can't get to your website, I've been writing .com, and you go, what do you mean? You go, yeah, DOTCOM. No, it's dot like a period, and they're like, oh, PERI. No.
I haven't experienced that yet, but I'm sure you have.
Many a times. I just anyway. So yeah, that's
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I love having you all the time. I hate saying it like that because I don't mean it in a negative way or a naughty way. However,
it sounds naughty. Okay.
I did date a girl that thought that I meant that.
Yeah.
And that it was happening, and that's how you know people are crazy, because they don't know how to acknowledge what is that? Logical fallacies. You know, they believe the things from their psychosis. Anyway, so
humans.
Anyway, there we go. This is it'll be 9th episode, I think, of the Right Mindset. So, as we always say, keep developing the right mindset, and I'll see you people on the next episode. Bye.